Hey Deb, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, I have an intro for you, okay?
Yep.
Are you
Go
ready?
for it.
You
Go for
excited?
it. I'm
All right.
excited.
All right, here we go. Today's guest is a true real estate icon. Deborah Brain entered real estate at just 21, pivoting from photography school with no industry experience, not even knowing what a mortgage was. She built her business the old school way, door knocking, cold calling, ads in the Toronto Star, and hosting open houses. Starting at 2021 in Collingwood, she moved into Toronto, reinvented herself, and later joined Remax Hallmark. Giving up a thriving sales career to manage a small office, Deborah helped grow the company from around 80 agents to over 2,000 agents, spanning across 40 offices in 9 regions.
Wow.
Wow. Today, she is the co founder and president of Remax Hallmark Group of Companies, the number one franchise in the Remax network and globally, by the way, completing over 21,300 transactions a year. That's one transaction every 2.4 hours. And her agents outperform the industry average 3 to 1. Beyond the numbers, Deborah is a trailblazer for women leadership, a mentor to many, and a powerful advocate for balancing career and family. She's a Remax Hall of Fame Award recipient, Manager of the Year for Remax Ontario, and a trusted voice in real estate media. Today, she focuses on mentoring future leaders, believing that leadership should reflect the people it serves. Welcome to the Top Taller Top in Pocket. How did that sound? Is that
Fantastic. Thank
accurate?
you.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Okay,
Boy,
cool.
it's been a lot of years.
A lot of
So
years?
yeah.
All right, so let's just start with the first question, okay? Now, I want to start a bit personal.
Okay.
All right. So you lost your mother to cancer at a young age.
Yep.
And not long after that, you found yourself launching a real estate career. So the first question is, how did you manage to push forward through that kind of personal loss while stepping into the unknown?
Yeah, it was, when I look back on that time, I had two older sisters, but they didn't live anywhere, close to where I was. So I didn't really
Okay.
have their support. And I lived with my father for probably 6 months or so after my mom passed. And
Okay.
it was my father who got me into real estate.
Okay.
And, you just don't really have any choice. Like many people who lose family members,
Right.
you grieve them, but, you have to find your way to move on from that. I
Okay.
mean, it doesn't mean that you forget about them. I mean, you think about them every day, but
Okay.
I think it made me a stronger, independent woman not having a mother at that
Okay.
young age.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, did you lose your mother before you were licensed or during when you were licensed?
before,
Before. Okay.
before.
Okay. So you lost her, and then your father. I think your father ended up signing up first.
My father signed up first, and then he got offered another position
Okay.
somewhere, and he had already paid for the real estate course. So he
Okay.
said to me, you should take it. And I'm like 21 years old, and I'm well, what is it?
Right.
And he's like, real estate. It's like selling people's houses. And I'm
Right.
like, okay, I'll give it a try.
Okay.
And absolutely fell in love with it. It was a career that really aligned with helping people. And there was at that time there weren't as many women in real estate.
Okay.
And I only stayed in Collingwood for probably about a year. And
Okay.
then I decided that it was time for me to go back to the city and start my career there.
And you mentioned, and why I think you're interesting or fascinating is because you said that you lost your mother, but losing your mother made you a bit more independent, a more fierce
Hmm.
leadership in women. And they say many times if you don't have a role model or someone to look after, it's hard, right? So for young men, if you don't have a father figure to look up to,
Right.
most times the results are the opposite. So how did that type of loss, in your opinion, make you stronger? Because that's a powerful thing to
Yeah, I
say.
mean,
Yeah.
you have all those milestones where you're going to miss your mother, right?
Right.
Like at that point, I was still single, but when you get married and then you start to have children and you don't have your mother.
Right.
So you just have to become strong.
Right.
And I probably contribute that to being able to fend for myself, to
Okay.
be able to get into the industry at such a young age.
Right.
But I always had this ability, I think, to think that I could do anything that I wanted to do. I never
Okay.
felt that I was held back in any way.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's
and I
good.
think it was just, I was a child of the 70s, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So, that whole era, that
That whole
hippie,
era, the hippie era?
I
You were in
lived
the hippie
through-
era.
I did. I was
Okay.
a hippie for a little while in
You were-
Collingwood
you
when
were
I
in
was
the-
like
you were in the
17,
clubs?
18 years old.
You were in the clubs then?
Was it
Yeah,
in
you
the
were
clubs?
Yeah, you were in the clubs?
Not in Collingwood, no.
Because
There
Toronto,
were
they
no
were the
clubs there. But,
Yeah.
we were really into music at that time,
Okay.
in the 70s. That's when all the best music came out, right, for rock and roll. So it was great. It was a great time, actually.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing that ability to push forward and push through because I know that many people can take a loss or a trauma and that can literally put them spiraling in the opposite direction. And the ability to really just manage those emotions and manage those thoughts and drive forward. I remember for me, one of my best friends, he passed away from cancer, and I at the funeral now when we're burying him at the graveyard site, I get my phone is ringing from Remax.
Oh,
You're calling me, Deb. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It
No, it
wasn't
wasn't
that.
me.
It wasn't you. It was so calling me.
I didn't even know where Durham was at that time.
Remax is calling. I'm like, what is going on? I pick up the phone like, Kenneth, your open house. Nobody is there. And this is when the peak of the season. So you have like a lineup of people lined up. I'm like, what do you mean? I organized someone to
Yeah.
be there. I won't mention names. Call the individual. Okay, I wasn't able to make it. You think you can call me? You think you can
Yeah.
say something?
Yeah.
So what did I have to do? I had to literally
Leave the funeral.
leave the funeral. You know what I mean? And I'm literally out of motion. I had to go in the car.
Oh boy. Oh
You know what I
boy.
mean? Suck it up, and I had to go there. And when I was there, no one would have known that like what was happening. Because not really they're they're looking for a house. I'm not going to put my grief on them. So you have to kind of suck it up
Yeah.
in the morning and in the moment, and just you got to fight through things, right? And I think that that resilience, ability to just
Well,
understand.
we're
Yeah.
in a business where there's a lot of rejection,
Oh yeah,
right? A ton of it.
right,
And so you have to be able to take that
right,
and push forward.
and push forward.
Otherwise, there's a lot of people who I always say that, real estate tries you on, you don't try real estate
Right,
because there's a lot of people who get into it. They like the idea of it. They like looking at houses. They like design or architecture.
right.
But, the people part is the tough,
It's a tough part.
not only dealing with other agents, but dealing with clients.
Got you.
So you have to have a lot of different skill sets in this business to succeed.
Right.
Yeah.
Mindset power. You didn't just step into real estate, okay? You earned it the hard way. Door knocking, cold calling, placing ads in the Toronto Star.
But
and
I didn't
hosting
think of
open
it as
houses.
hard. It was the only way to do it.
Well, you did
I
it
mean, in the beginning, we didn't even have cell phones. We used to have little pagers, and we'd go into the office, and they would have these little slips of paper where someone called into the office and they left you a message. And man, you would just light up if you walked in and you got these messages.
And you had the rotary
But-
phone still, the one that the circle like that.
No, wasn't that bad. But
Yeah.
no fax machines. So I think every era has its challenges. Now it's technology. Some people are good with it, some people aren't. But I think the bottom line is that the most important skill set is to be able to attract and have customer service for people.
So how about this? So the question then, to follow on with here. So what lessons from those early grind years, okay, do you believe are still non-negotiable for real estate success today? So what did you do in the past that is still non-negotiable today? You must do, irrelevant of technology and TikTok and
Follow
Instagram.
up.
Follow up.
Follow up.
Okay, talk to me about that.
If you don't have a system in place to follow up with people,
Okay.
whether it's people who came through your open house and you follow up with them afterwards, people that, called you on an ad, door knock.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where, your app comes in.
Yeah.
It's brilliant being
Yeah.
able to track.
Right.
And, agents lose a lot of business just
Follow-up.
through the lack of follow up. Because that you may have had a really good interaction with someone
Right.
and they may have shown some interest in wanting to work with you, but
And you'll ghost.
you don't call them back. And then next thing you know, they're meeting another nice realtor who's going
There
to
you
help
go.
them, right?
And what
So
percent of
follow up is critical, whether you have a system through technology or, 30 years ago. Still the
And
same.
And what percent? And did you have a CRM back in the day?
Kinda.
So was it more of like papers? Because I'm not sure how technology
No,
was.
the first CRM that I had was Top Producer.
I was gonna say that because everybody.
Yeah.
So I was brought in, like everybody's team. So you were on Top Producer originally.
I was on Top Producer. I had an assistant,
Okay.
and that's how I kept track of things.
And what percent of agents do you think have a CRM based on your experience?
I would say more do now
Okay, fair enough.
than they didn't back then.
Okay,
We were not, my age group was not brought up on technology.
correct.
So we have really had to learn it, at an older age where
Right.
it doesn't come as easily.
Right,
Whereas, your generation grew up on it.
right,
My sons grew up on it. They were playing video games and doing all that from, 6 years old.
right.
It came very natural.
Got you.
So, having a good CRM, I think a lot of people, there's many out there now that are great,
Mhm.
but Follow Up Boss seems to be one that a lot of people
People are
use.
using.
And, in a company our size, we have, I think, 24 managers. They all use Follow Up Boss
Okay,
for their cold calling and all of their leads
right.
for follow up.
Got you.
So it's called Follow Up Boss for a reason because following up is important.
yeah, I think that I would agree with you on the following up part, mainly because if you don't have a system just to really keep track of where your business is, who to call, when to call them, because they say things like,
Yeah.
"Hey, call me back," end of September, or
Yeah.
they call me back, "Hey, call me back January of next
Yeah,
year."
and I would
because of-
write it in a little book
Right,
or something.
got you.
And, hopefully you remember to get back to them.
So
But-
following up would be the one thing that you said. Is there anything else other than following up would you say that you cannot do without? It doesn't matter how much
Well,
technology
there
comes.
has to be a level of marketing, I think,
Okay.
so that people see your name not only on your signs, but especially if you're farming, right?
Right.
So a lot of agents are farmers,
Right,
and what I mean by that is they have a neighborhood that they consistently market to,
right,
and it's like that reticular thing, right? That people drive down the street, they see your sign,
See your
they see
face.
your bus shelter,
Yeah.
they see a billboard, they see a bus going by with your name, whatever whatever
exactly.
it is.
100%.
And some agents do it big, and other agents, just use mailers, flyers, postcards, that kind of thing. So name recognition, I think, is important.
I have a question
um,
actually about that. Okay, so I've gone around to a lot of different like this stages and talking to people, Remax, offices,
Yeah.
and I've asked the question of how much of you guys farm, okay? And me being a data-driven maniac, everything's about a conversion for me. So I'm like, how much people are in the room, how much people farm, and I have a percentage in my brain of the amount of people that actually farm. I've been on like the Buzz days, ask an auditorium of like 200 people. And
Yeah.
So how much people do you think, what percent of agents do you think?
I think it's small, maybe 10%.
Wow. This is why you are the president of, what is the number?
Was I right?
You were 13%.
Yeah.
13, 15%.
Well, I'll tell you why they don't.
Yeah, tell us.
Because their attention
I was
span.
shocked, by the way, because I'm a farmer. I don't even.
Well,
yeah.
and you can have great success through farming. We've
course.
got some agents who have been farming the same, pockets for years. They're highly successful doing it.
Right.
David Vittori is one of them. Mary Roy. Like, there's lots of people who have been farming the same neighborhoods. It's a brand name.
Right.
And the reason they don't do it
Here we
is
go.
because you have to be really consistent.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
really consistent. You've
Yeah.
got to send out your mailers. You've got to be involved in the community. You got to show up. You got to be there everywhere so
Yeah.
that people see you.
Yeah.
But it costs money.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
Yeah.
Right. So if you are trying to do it kind of an organic way of
Right.
meeting people at open houses and that kind of thing, you know, you will, and you'll have some business, but farming is, you know, super consistent and expensive,
So what
but
I
it
did,
does pay off.
so what I did, it's just interesting, okay? I farmed the wrong way, even though in the eyes of, let's say, society or Remax, I'm a top agent. Um, I would so and my, even though I told you farm is my thing, I technically farmed the wrong way because I didn't at the beginning. At the beginning, I didn't have any money. So what I had to do was I just went and knocked on
Knocked on
every door,
doors. Yeah.
and then what my marketing was, it was the signs on the on people's lawns, right? So I remember one time I was doing an open house, and there were like 8 of my sold signs in walking distance. So
Oh,
all the
wow.
agents were like, how are you doing this? Because all my marketing was originally was that, and then after I got the revenue from the signs, then I started to do the flyers and the flyer campaigns, right? But
Yeah.
but originally I was just doing it from just
Well,
the knocking. But
every
I would have,
listing that you get
yeah,
is an opportunity to get, you know, a lot more business
hundred
from it,
percent, yeah,
right? Whether that's door knocking around it, cold calling around it, you know, the signage,
yeah.
all of that, flyers. So, you know, you should be able to turn one listing into 2 more.
And my passion, like, it's interesting. So when I found out that only like 10 to 15% do it, for me, that was one of the biggest things I learned. And when I have access to agents now, we're talking to realtors about how do you be successful. I'm like, guys, this is a gold mine opportunity if you just pick one area and farm. And for me, I did it for kind of insecurities
Yeah.
because I was so me from being from Scarborough, Scarborough, young, dark skinned black guy. I was like, I couldn't do it. And Scarborough wasn't the area where I was gonna my area where I grew up, it wasn't the area where I was going to necessarily
Right.
skyrocket my career. So I said, okay, let me just go somewhere where,
Yeah.
like, in
Well,
the
you
Durham
made a good
region.
choice, right? You
Yeah,
know, if you're comfortable,
yeah.
it's going to work.
Well, what ended up happening was, so I stumbled across Durham, right, where nobody looked like me. And for me, I was thinking, okay, well, the way that I'm gonna grow this thing is if you give people in my mind at least, you give people no opportunity to say no to you, because you have to be the clear case to create that competitive advantage. So I've had people call me that were like a Russian guy one time with speaks no English. I thought it was a prank from my friends. He goes, "Ken, sell the house." I'm like, "Sell my house." I'm like, "What's going on here?" And I'm like, "Where do you live?" And he goes, "Oh, Boone." I'm like, "Oh, you're on Boone Lane." So I had 3 sales signs
Mm,
in front of his face. So he was just calling me. I go on the listing appointment. He had to have an interpreter there, which was his daughter. His daughter's from Vaughan, has no idea who I am, but he must have told her, this is the
yeah, this
guy.
is the
And
guy.
she comes in, she sees
Yeah.
3 sales
He's
signs.
everywhere.
The listing, he spoke no English. It was no presentation. It was just a walk in, contract, price, sign, done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how easy it was. But that was because of farming. So when I hear about agents, having an issue closing deals and all
Yeah.
that,
You
like,
know, there's so many ways to be
yeah,
successful in this business
yeah,
that you don't want everybody farming,
it's true.
right?
And then you're really gonna be done, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I
Keep a
mean, then they're
secret.
going to be knocking on your doors.
Exactly.
But,
Exactly.
you know, there's lots of ways to be successful.
Right.
And, you know, and I've seen them all.
Yeah.
And sometimes the person who you see that's, you know, there was a guy at the beach office for years. He was a little English man, funny looking little guy. Like
She's watching this, but
he looked like one of those
this
gnomes,
is like
you know,
this is me.
garden gnomes kind of thing.
Okay.
Like, but a lovely man in a beautiful English accent.
Okay.
And when I first met him, I thought, this guy,
Yeah.
who the hell is ever going to list their house with this guy?
Watching
Right?
this. Yeah.
And then I sat back and watched how great he was.
And
He was so charming.
right.
And he became really successful. He's no longer with us, but his name is Henry Bliss.
Okay.
And, you know, it really taught me that there were a lot of ways to do this. And
Right.
people connect with different people,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. You know what it's like when you're opening up MLS in the morning
Yeah.
and you see a listing come out that you thought should have been yours
I've
or
been
that
through
was
yeah.
gonna, you
Yeah,
thought you were
I've been
getting
through
it
that
next
before.
week.
Yeah.
And all of a
100%.
sudden you go, how did that guy get it?
Right.
Like, I sell way more real estate than that guy.
Exactly.
How did that happen?
This charm.
But for some reason,
Sway.
they connected with that person.
Right.
So, there's an ability for people, if you're great with people and you offer good customer service, that you can build a great career.
Yeah.
And then there's, all these tools that are available to help people do that.
Right.
And, now more than ever. I
Got
mean, technology, I still think technology does not replace a conversation.
Right. I agree.
But it does help you be more productive.
Okay.
And, keeps all your follow-up and everything,
Far more efficient. You could be, I couldn't imagine. My error was I came in and top producer was still there, but then follow-up boss quickly became, I think, the more powerhouse after that. And I couldn't imagine running your business without this technology.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that you guys had it.
Well, even look at MLS.
Yeah.
How MLS has evolved and changed over the years.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't remember it back in the day. So.
Well, I used to
know it
use
when it
little square pieces of paper that used to come out every morning with a picture of the house, and we used to rip them and put them into little black books. And so when you're working with a client, they would come in and they would just flip through these little tiny pictures.
Wow.
And then MLS came and computers.
Right.
And that evolved, and we had to learn how to do all that, and we did.
Right.
It's an incredible business, really.
There you go.
Over the years, what's happened.
What would you say is the biggest mindset shift that you've had to just come to acceptance with from coming from old school and transitioning into the new schools? What's the biggest mindset shift that you think that you've had to make, even though I went through the reverse, where it was first I was asking about the what in the old school is still valid today. What are some of the things that you have to realize that is the biggest mindset shift where you just have to do business differently because we're in different times?
I think a lot of it for me being a broker, and my job was to build the company and to hire good realtors.
Right.
That was always my focus.
Right.
So when I look at if you're looking way back when I first started doing this, there were 20,000 realtors on the Toronto Real Estate Board. And so now there's getting close to 100,000.
Right. It's crazy.
And so I think realtors' expectation of a broker has been a huge change over the years. That's probably been something that, we've had to adapt to the most.
That's interesting. So what's changed? I never thought about that. So so what was the expectation of a broker when you were doing real estate?
It was very little. We supplied an office, a desk, and a phone.
That's it.
Splits were different.
Okay.
We took a much larger
Bigger
portion
cut.
of the split way back when. And yeah, I mean, they only called the broker if they were in dire need or in trouble.
So back in the day,
now they expect the broker to do everything, right? Have all these parties and training sessions and, all of those things that we have where the agents get together to share ideas. And so there's a lot more expectation, I think.
Interesting.
And because all of these different models have come into the business, like, there's so many different ones.
Won't start mentioning all of them, but yeah.
Yeah, I could. But
what's interesting, so if anything, it was you're making more money from a split perspective, and there was less expectations. Now it's less money from a split expectation and more less money from the split and more.
They want way more.
That's a hard gig, my friend.
Yeah. It's a really hard
more
gig.
Money, less money, more work.
But and that's one of the reasons why Hallmark has grown the way it has.
Got you.
We provide a great culture, a great environment. We care about our agents deeply.
Right.
We look after them. We want them to be successful.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just like a different environment.
Yeah.
Than it was back then.
you helped grow Remax Hallmark, okay, from 80 agents to over 2,000 agents, right? Turning it into actually the number one franchise on planet Earth, right?
Oh, I
Which
don't
is
think. Yeah,
Remax
maybe
franchise.
with Remax.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yes,
sure. Yeah, so the
yes,
number one Remax franchise ever. So that's
yeah.
that's crazy. So what are the two to
Well,
three pillars do you think? So what are the how do you that's like that's insane, right? So what are the two to three things that are the pillars that you did to accomplish what you've been
I
able
think
to
the
accomplish?
biggest thing that we did, um, we when we were about 300 agents,
Okay.
and there was only two. There was Ken and I,
Mind you,
and
only
another
300 is still
gentleman
like
named
high.
Kent
Yeah.
Shepard at the time. He was the one that I bought out. But prior to that, when Kent was still with us, we had about 300 agents, and we had taken the way we had grown is by buying other Remax offices.
Right.
So, you know, recruiting is necessary. It's important
Hmm.
to recruit one on one, but the way that we grew was we bought offices. So
Okay.
people who were retiring, people who wanted to
Hmm.
get out of the business. So if you can hire 50 or 100, or, when we bought Keller Williams in Ottawa, we bought 300 agents at a
Got
time.
you.
So that's kind of the direction that we went in, and we
Okay.
just felt that it was a great way to grow. But I didn't hire all those people by myself. I have a great team now.
Yes.
You know, Sammy's a great recruiter.
Sam hunted me down. Yeah.
He hunted you down, yeah. And
Sam
who
was
taught Sam
uh,
everything he knows?
I don't know. Was that
That
you?
was me.
He was
Sam was my assistant. I hired
really
Sam as my
Sam.
assistant.
I would say Sam is very good.
He's very good.
I
Yeah.
mean, like he was very good at what he does, and he definitely got me in here 100%. But there's one thing that you mentioned where you were buying out companies, and what's
Mm-hmm.
interesting, it's that approach. When I hear people talking about like young kids now, like how do you get into business, not even real estate, even entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
I've heard a lot where people say, there's so many people at a certain age bracket that want to retire, and that a group is getting older and older, and they're ready almost right now, and they're ready to cash out. So you can literally go out there and buy a business, and sometimes you can, if you already buy an existing business, existing cash
Yeah, I
flow.
mean, even in your own office, or your, in Durham,
Yeah.
whatever, you can look to people who have been in the business a long time that, approach them
Right.
and just, find out what their exit plan is.
Right.
I mean, you're right. You can sell real estate into your 70s or your 80s if you really wanted to, but
Right.
you're not going to do that at the high level that you
You wanna
did
do
at
it.
the peak of your career.
Exactly.
So aligning yourself maybe with some people that are looking to move on is a great idea. It's another way to add to your list.
There you go. So basically, you're saying the key to your growth is acquisition
Acquisitions.
of good brokerages. On
Hmm.
top of that, having great recruiting managers
Yeah.
on the inside.
And when we really started to grow, we were one of the few companies that kind of accepted and wanted to build teams.
Okay.
Most brokers were scared to death of them. They
Okay.
thought, oh, they're going to be telling me what to do.
Okay.
They're, they didn't have a program in place to help teams grow.
Okay.
And that's where we excelled.
Okay.
I can remember in the 90s, there was a period where there was a Royal LePage office down the street from us. And I brought over all their top producers because they were all trying to build teams.
Yank. Yeah.
And the broker there was not helpful, didn't have a system around it.
Okay.
And he could see the teams that we had were thriving. And it was really a trend in the way of the future. I
Got
mean,
you.
you know how big teams are in
Yep.
business today.
100%.
So we've always been team friendly, and we've always spent a lot of times helping people grow their teams.
Love it. All right.
Yeah.
Looking at agents today,
Mhm.
what separates the ones that break through? They're able to live fully off of real estate, 100% full-time realtors. They're able to hit numbers that they want. So what separates those agents, those top performers, from the agents that get stuck and end up just leaving the industry? What separates them?
I had this conversation with one of those top performers just yesterday, and what makes her so successful.
Hmm.
And they have figured out a process that works.
Okay.
They've invested in their business,
Hmm.
and a lot of it has to do with where they are, their location, but they stage,
Hmm.
they spend money on marketing,
Right.
they're great at customer service,
Right.
and they don't take their foot off the gas.
Right.
So what I find with a lot of agents who struggle is they'll have a little month where they do 2 or 3 deals and they're like, woohoo, right?
Right.
And then they stop. And then they got to start over again.
Right.
Get more buyers, get sellers.
Yeah.
The agents that are really successful don't take their foot off the gas.
Yeah.
They have, it's almost like a hamster wheel now.
Yeah.
And
Go.
not necessarily a great thing for their balance in life,
Yeah.
but they really do have the process down. And once you do, and people see that you're the person that is selling the most homes in their neighborhood,
Yeah.
they're more likely to call you than they are someone who's kind of untested or untrue.
Yeah.
So, it's farming as well, fits into that
Yeah.
package.
It's interesting because
But a lot of them have staging companies or
Yeah.
stagers that they have on staff. And the houses that they sell look amazing.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
It's always shocked me when agents they sell homes without staging. It's kind of super interesting, like the model of business
Well,
there.
I
but
think it's
definitely
been
do believe
proven
in
that
it.
homes that are well staged and present well are going to sell for more money.
100%.
So,
And then when it comes down to the foot off the gas pedal, that's interesting because I remember COVID came, and I was out there door knocking. I remember, and when there's a period where you weren't sure if you should or you shouldn't. Then there was a period where you know for sure you can't. But when it was first coming out, you weren't really sure if you
yeah.
should go to doors. I remember the last door I knocked on before I said never again. For that period, I knocked on the
Yeah.
lady's door. She goes,
You had a mask on?
I know, right? But remember, this was when it was just like it was at the beginnings where there was
Right.
where it was like there was a time when it'd be crazy to go without a mask, but when I was still doing it, it was just kind of rumblings of what's going on. I remember one lady's like, "Are you trying to bring me COVID Express?" Right?
Oh,
I was
jeez.
like, "Okay, no, I'm not." Okay, I called my wife. I'm like, "Yeah, Abby, we're not door knocking." And to answer the question
Well,
about
people didn't know. Nobody knew,
nobody knew what was
including
going on,
us. I mean, we had to shut all our offices down,
right?
which was very, very difficult to do, and send the staff home.
Right.
Yeah, it was
And
a
then-
tough time for a lot of businesses and people trying
Right.
to figure it out.
And then one of the things about like not taking your foot off the gas pedal, because a lot of
Mhm.
people, they'll hear like Top Dollar Top In or Kenneth, and what do you do differently? And you're right, like I just don't take my foot off the pedal. So when I couldn't door knock, I realized, well, everybody is home, and I was like, okay, well, if everybody's home, then
Yeah.
what do you do now? And then I'm like, let's just have webinars, and that was, and I probably almost made like over 1 million webinars. That's over the span, predominantly because, and that was the biggest revelation I had, I think, during COVID, where I had my first webinar. I just posted it to my social medias. I'm like, hey guys, I'm having a webinar teaching you how to invest.
Right.
160 people, Deb,
Well, yeah.
on one Zoom, just watching my face.
Wow.
So I see people logging in. I'm like, how many people signed up? 300. Everybody's home. And then about 160
Yeah.
came out. So I
Well,
was like, this is
Cold
crazy.
calling would have been a good thing to do then. People, had the time to talk.
Well, yeah, they're just home doing nothing. But I think that a realtor's ability to just keep going, and you have to generate leads. So whether you're door knocking, okay, you can't door knock.
Yeah.
Then doing webinars, okay, you're doing Zoom calls. You got to keep on doing.
Yeah,
something
and
there.
I mean those agents that don't take their foot off the gas, it becomes so much easier for the lead generation. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, they're getting called.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are being brought in.
Right.
So, it's not easy to get to that point,
Right.
and most agents won't
Right.
because they won't. It's funny to me that you look at those agents who are really, really successful,
Okay.
and then you'll get an agent who's maybe struggling,
Okay.
and they'll go, "Oh, well, I don't want their life. I don't want to do what they have to do. I'm at home Friday and Saturday nights and
Yeah.
Sundays." And, so it's almost like a badge of honor.
Right.
So, it just depends on, not everybody wants the same things.
Right.
right? If you have a young family and, your priority is to spend time, take your child to baseball, do
Yeah.
all these different things, there's only one of you and you can only be stretched so thin.
100%.
So, there are different periods in your life as well. When I was a young mother and I had children and I'd be so focused on trying to pick them up by 5 o'clock and get them home and get them fed before I had to go back out the door again.
Yeah.
And then later, as they got older and they didn't require me to do that,
Right.
things got a bit easier.
Right.
But, so there's lots of different phases that you go through if you're in it for the long game.
And speaking of that, because one of the challenges I find that women have, and I can contest to this because one of my good friends, I don't mention no names, we were in our career, we were pretty much we were at the same level from units sold. And the first year I came into Remax, I beat this individual. And the following
You
year,
lit a fire under
I
them.
lit a fire under. She turned red, and I was doing me rubbing it in. I'm like, hey, number 3 isn't too bad.
Yeah.
It's all good. Don't worry
Yeah,
about that.
realtors are competitive.
Realtors are competitive. I'm like, don't worry, man. Like this, it's all good. He did a good, buddy. I like tapped on her shoulder, red, and following that, like, she from that point on and onward,
Yeah.
just completely just like would have beat me every year.
Well,
But it's
I
interesting.
know who you're talking about. And, I've kind of watched what she's done over the last, 5-6 years.
5, 6 years, yeah.
And, people will say, do companies really make a difference? Does brand make a difference? In both your cases, it definitely did.
Yeah.
I think who you surrounded yourself with.
That's huge.
I think, when you're in a company where, the top agent, let's say, is doing 3 deals a month. And so that's kind of like, that's the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did too. I'm doing pretty good. Right. But when you're in an office where you've got people doing 10, 15 deals a month,
Okay.
like that's a lot of room to grow.
Let's stay
Right?
right there. Let's stay right there because that wasn't even on my list here. And going back to the Dorothy situation, the second though, oh, I can't mention no names. We're gonna bleep that one out.
We all know.
Yeah,
what
yeah,
we're
it is,
talking
right?
about here.
And yeah, there's so much people that buy that name. So okay, fine. So what's interesting about that though, there was the fire, but also there was a transition in her life where her kids were becoming more independent. It just
Yep.
happened to coincide. And what happened is like the minute that a woman is not as distracted to have to take care of kids and feed them, and the minute they're a bit more independent, that's when you buy back way more time, less
Yeah.
dependence on them, and then there's this skyrocketing. So there's that kind of sacrifice that where it makes it a bit challenging for a woman to
Yeah,
succeed
and
because you have to wear
let's not
multiple
forget
hats.
the dads as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they participate in all of this as well. So, I often hear, oh, I can't go to a conference. My kids are still really little, or I can't golf. My
Right.
kids are too little. It takes up too much time.
Yeah.
And, so, you have to prioritize.
Right.
And obviously, you have to sell real estate to get food on your table.
Of course.
And so those hours that you have to be prioritized to work,
Got you.
right? As opposed to other things.
And and you mentioned this about being able to succeed and being with companies that have a cap. And one of the things that I appreciated about Remax Hallmark is that I came into the brokerage and I was no longer a top performer. I went from
Right.
being a
You earned it.
I went from being a top performer, not a nobody, but I wasn't even on the top.
You weren't
like,
top dollar
I
top.
wasn't top dollar topping at that point in time. I wasn't even on the top 50 list. So I remember at
That's
the,
a big motivator for
yeah,
a
I
lot
was
of
like,
people.
I'm like, man, and Steve, bless his heart, he completely humbled me, right? He was like, Ken, you're not even on their top whatever list. He kind of like, so
Now
give
it's
us your
the top-
numbers,
top 100
whatever.
list.
yeah,
Yeah.
he kind of looked at me like, man, you
That's a goal
plateaued.
for a lot of people
Yeah.
to get on that list.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then I saw myself, and then I remember and being in an office. I remember the first time I was at the Ajax office, and I was going to leave, and that's when Mary Roy was there. Some other people were there as well in the office. I remember I was going to leave one day, and as I was going to leave, everybody there is making more money than me. And I was like, where am I going right now? I was gonna go to the mall. I actually was. I'm like, I think I should turn around and do something because there's people that are making way more money than me and they're
Right.
in the office. So I just turned back and so that whole mindset
Yeah.
shift, the energy, the professionalism. So I think I know who you surround yourself with is extremely
Critically
important.
important,
So I'm not
you
a
know.
fan of necessarily going to certain offices or places or brokerages or whomever. So I think splits are all these things do matter, all these pay structures. But I think the biggest thing, I don't
But,
want
you know,
agents to
I've seen
forget.
people that, and I'm going to be honest about this, I don't think that I've ever seen anyone, not that I've hired anyway,
Right,
that left Hallmark because they went to a competitor that was less expensive,
and do better.
do better, or
Right,
make more money. Their production always falls.
right,
So, what's more important, pay a little bit less or to make more money over here?
right. Hey,
But
if you want to be a
they
shark,
don't
hang
think
around
that way.
five
They
sharks,
just
and
want
you.
to pay less, pay less.
Yeah, I think if you want to be a shark, hang around. If you want to be a shark, hang around five sharks, and you'll be the sixth one. But if you wanna hang around dolphins all day, then you're not. It's hard. It's a challenge. So I rock with you on that. If you had to start over today, okay, if you had to start over today, no database, you have no name, you're no longer the Queen Deborah Hare of Remax, okay? What would you do in your first 90 days? What would it look like? First 90 days.
I'm just brand new.
You're brand new. No one knows who you are. You have no name, no nothing. You're a licensed realtor. What would you do in your first 90 days?
I would do open houses every night of the week, 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday.
And if you don't have it yourself, you do other agent
Yep,
open
I
houses.
do. I beg and steal for them
Got you. So you'd crush open
and
houses.
just put myself in front of people.
Okay.
And, but, you know, I would have to do a lot of them.
Okay.
Yeah. And I
And
would. I mean, I still think that it is one of, and it's why it's never gone away.
right.
And I read on Instagram, somebody posted today, an agent from another company, they don't work. Open houses don't work.
Okay.
And I thought about it for a minute. We were actually talking about it at one of the office meetings this
Okay.
morning,
Mm-hmm.
that there were a lot of people that came through that were not represented.
Okay.
They all said they hadn't
Sign
gotten
up.
an agent yet.
Yeah.
They hadn't signed a buyer contract. So I think it's a good way, first of all, for new agents to learn the product, have a system around open houses, like know what's out there,
Yeah.
be able to talk intelligently about all of it,
Okay.
and the follow-up part,
Yeah.
right? I used to, when I was doing open houses just as an agent, I would have my computer with me. And when people came in, I'd get talking to them what they were looking for. I'd get on and say, you know what? There was a listing that just came out a couple days ago. Let me look it up. Let me show it to you. I could probably finish this up by about 4 o'clock. I could take you over to see it if you like.
Okay.
Get them
Right.
in my car.
Wow. Okay.
Like, and then do the follow up right after the open house. Don't wait until Monday when you're in the office to start calling people to say, oh, you came through my open house. Phone them at 6 o'clock when they've gotten home from, that they've looked at other open houses.
Right.
You be the one to call them and say, hi, just wanted to thank you for coming through my open house today.
Wow.
I'm wondering if you have any questions about maybe some of the other listings that you might have seen.
And you're dropping some nuggets because at first you said the follow-up process, how quickly you do it. You understand that they're going to be going to other open houses, other agents,
Yeah, of
other
course they are.
competition. On top of that, you mentioned something that I've heard before from people that succeeded at open houses: 2 on a Saturday, 2 on Sunday. Like you're just not like you're
Yeah,
scheduling.
do 11 to 1 and then 2 to 4 or
4.
3 to 5.
Yes. So even you saying this, like
Your day is
yeah.
screwed anyway.
Right.
Even with a 2 to 4 open house,
Right.
you are preparing in the morning,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You got to get your signs up. You have to do all that. And then you have to get there. And then you got to take your signs down. And
Right.
your day's gone. Let's
Right.
face it.
Right.
When you're doing an open house, what are you doing? Like a couple hours in the morning. Maybe
Right.
you can go out for breakfast. So,
So it's fun. So it's fascinating. So okay, I've heard it before. Open houses don't work. I've heard door knocking doesn't work, and it's fascinating because you're talking
how
to
can
someone
not talking to people
Yeah.
not work?
and you mentioned something. And it's like Um, People will say this to a person who's made millions at open houses, or say it to a person who's made millions door knocking, and I'm like, it doesn't work. I'm like, well, I made millions doing it. I don't know what you're doing, and but until they hear the
Yeah.
breakdown and the structure and the systems and the strategies, then they
Well,
realize that okay,
a lot
maybe
of
it
people
does.
are afraid to door knock. I mean, that's the honest truth.
Yes,
You
hundred
know,
percent.
knocking on someone's door, they think they're bothering them. They, get flustered. They don't know what to say,
Right.
all of that.
Yeah.
It's a system like anything else.
Yeah.
You have to be able to know what to say, and then,
How to
the
convert it.
dialogue, back and forth. So,
Objective handling, all
yeah,
that
of course.
scripting. It's a lot. It's a lot.
And then
Okay.
it's the follow up.
The follow up. Real estate has a lot of women agents. There are a lot of, I think there's more women agents than men at this point in time. About 60-40 split, I think.
Yep.
There's more women than men. But few women leaders when it comes down to brokerage owners or
Yes.
broker owners. So the
Yeah,
question
that's
is,
true.
what advice would you give to young women who want to lead at the highest level in this industry? What advice would you give them?
You have to have
Don't say balls.
you gotta have I had a fire
Huh?
in me. I had a fire in me.
Okay.
I was an agent for over 25 years before I got onto managing an office and then
Okay.
becoming a broker and, as big
Long
as we
time.
are.
Yeah.
And I knew that the only way for me to succeed as a broker or become a leader was to get good at recruiting,
Right.
to help build the company.
Okay.
And so all of my focus went into recruiting, and I became
Okay.
very good at it.
Okay.
So, you're talking about having 300 agents. We had a goal to get to 1,000, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous at the time.
Right.
1,000 agents? How is that even possible?
Right.
Where would we put them? Not thinking that we were, buying offices along the way.
Okay.
And, so I really focused on being a great recruiter.
Okay.
And I became very passionate about our company. And I really, truly believed that we were the best company there was.
Okay.
And so that's how I sold it. And I just I became a leader, I think, through not only that, selling the company, but also I was very engaged in the industry.
Okay.
So at that time, Remax Ontario, Atlantic Canada, used to have a lot of broker owner events.
Okay.
I got fully engaged in all of that. I participated. I surrounded myself with people that had been brokers longer than I was. I went to their offices.
Okay.
I talked to the brokers and the managers. And then I started seeing some success in all my recruiting. I started to be invited to speak. I became the manager of the year that way.
Okay. Yeah.
And then,
Good for you.
Remax is big in Europe. I got invited to go to Czechoslovakia to speak. I
Okay.
spoke in Scotland, spoke in Vienna. I
Okay.
went to their conferences. So I really surrounded myself in the industry.
And there's one thing that you mentioned. You had a woman that was kind of a mentor to you.
Yes, and she's a good friend now.
Okay.
I still see her.
Yeah.
And she was a broker, and then she became the CEO. Her father was, Frank Polsler and Walter Schneider,
Okay.
who were the ones who brought Remax to Canada.
Canada. Okay.
She was Frank's daughter.
Oh wow.
So,
Okay.
she then became, as their company grew and they started to, move out into the States.
Right.
And, she was the CEO. So I watched and learned a lot from her.
Yeah, because when I hear you talk, and I'm studying the minds of this, obviously greatest minds of real estate, top performers, and even from hearing your stories, even seeing similarities in my stories, and when you talk about what you've done, to build a company. I just hear value, right? You were able to provide value because you were able to recruit and build. And that means, and it's so hard to recruit, but you're able to really provide value to a company, and they saw that.
You think getting a listing is hard?
Try
Try recruiting an agent.
Well, it took me almost like, it took Sam like almost like a year and a half to get
It's
me.
hard.
Yeah, it's challenging.
And you try and show your value, and you have to have a connection as well.
Yeah.
They have to see you as a person that's going to help them build their career.
Yeah.
And that's really, if you can figure out how to do that and connect with people on that level,
right.
That's how you build your company.
And also you mentioned something else, which is mentorship and surrounding yourself with the best of the best of the best, because, my original, and when I heard you had a mentor, and and how powerful that she is up to this day. My original mentor was Paul, right? Mr. Paul Barron, right? And he did, but for me, like no one would have done that for me. Like sat with me, was in his office, and he didn't have to do any of that. But we just sat together, and I was able to learn from like this, like one of the top also brokers for C21 at the time, right? Even probably now as well, right? And I think that that's a lost opportunity that people would realize that you can't do it on. We don't do it on our own, right? We literally humble down and learn from other people.
Also, I think COVID kind of really changed a lot in agent behavior,
right?
And we used to have very vibrant, well-attended, engaged meetings every week.
Right. Now they're just like.
And now it's, people got used to working from home in their pajamas, and they're just, I don't know. And they're missing so much.
Right.
They're missing contribution.
Mm-hmm.
They're missing, just what happened last night in the real estate world when someone tells their story about an offer or, a client, and all of those things bring value and help you become a better agent.
Yes.
And so I'm really pressing all of our managers to try and rejuvenate our meetings and get them more, phone people and get their asses back in.
I love it. I think many broker owners probably have the similar issue. Yeah.
COVID really did it.
So you said before that agents get too distracted. I've heard you say that before.
Yes.
Agents get too distracted. And what does a focused, high-performing agent's day really look like?
I'm sure it can be different for a lot of them, but they get up, they either exercise, they have their breakfast, deal with whatever they have to early. They're early risers, and they get on the phones, and they do what they have to do. This agent I was speaking to yesterday, she goes, "Debbie, you have no idea how many emails I have to answer in a day. In between all my appointments and her presentations and her, because every client that you get requires your care and your attention. Yeah. And it's a lot of work. Yeah. It's a lot of work. So they stay focused. They work hard.
And one of the things I was, as you wrap up here, what I've been going around to the RE/MAX offices, and there's this one chart that really seems to really bring people into reality of prospecting. Okay. And I have a chart where it's like, this is how much contacts you have to make in a day to get X amount of leads. And if you want to be successful, you should be getting at least, 40 leads a month. Let's say from door knocking, for example, right? And then when I broke down, well, you're not always going to talk to people and get a lead. You're going to have to talk to a certain amount of people to get X amount of leads. So then I said,
and what constitutes a real lead?
And what constitutes a lead, exactly.
Yeah.
So I had a number where it was like, you should be, so in my opinion, if I'm talking to any door knocker out there, you should be having 100 conversations a week at the door. That's 400 in the month. And then I said, if you're talking to less than 200 people a month at the door, that's failure mode. Like, you're not going to get the ball roll. It's just not enough. And when I just told them my chart where you need to be at 400 a month, and that was it. And a lot of them were like, okay, I actually now know what I need to do. And when you get that many leads per month, 40 a month, 40 a month, 40 a month, but by the time the year is done,
your pipeline is full.
You have a pipeline. Yeah. You have people to call that said, hey, You
Yeah.
spoke to me last week or last
So
year.
I have always said, if you spend 2 hours
2 hours a day.
prospecting a day,
Yes.
just 2 hours,
Wow.
even if it's 5 days a week, and I don't care how you press, but whether you're calling, whatever it is you're doing, but you're talking to people for 2 hours a day,
Yeah.
in 6 months, you will have so much business you won't be able to service it all.
It's funny because so remember when I asked you the question about, I asked you the question of how many agents farm, and you said it was about 10%. You're really close. What number do you think so at the offices, and this is recorded, okay? So they know that I spoke to I think it was Ottawa, I did Oakville, I've been around, right? And I told them, how much hours do you think I told them they need to be, if they're going to be prospecting in general, if it's door knocking, if they're going to be all that, like how much hours a day do you need to spend door knocking or prospecting to be successful? What number do you think I told them?
2 hours a day.
I said 2 to 3 hours,
Yeah.
right? No more. And I said 2 hours. I said
Well, you
literally.
get burned out if you try and do more.
Yeah, it's longer. But I
Yeah.
remember telling them, guys, like when I was building my career, I just spent 2 hours. And in 2 hours, you will talk to like 20 people. Like you can hit. And I said, now more than ever. So I said, now more than ever, people are actually home. Before COVID, I actually said, if I miss a Saturday, I'm done because everybody is home because 9 to
Yeah.
5, right? I look down the street and there's no
And
cars
so are
there.
you door knocking your farm or are you door knocking random streets?
So it's two strategies. It's the farming, so where you just meet everybody once to talk to
Yeah.
everybody. The other one is you can just hit a just listed, just sold somewhere else. Makes
Somewhere
sense? So
else.
let's say you're farming, because you can farm. Let's say you have Ajax and you have North Eight. There's all the different quadrants, communities,
Yeah.
right? So even though my farm is in South, like East Ajax, let's say there's a listing that comes out like in Central West, I can still go knock there.
Those doors,
At
yeah.
those doors as well. But the main thing I said that is, in 2 hours you can talk to your 20 people.
Yeah.
And I said before it was kind of it was harder back before COVID. I said 2 to 3 because you look down the street and there's a lot of cars that were not on the driveway, so you know it's going to be a longer day. But now I look down the street. It's like a Saturday every day. I'm like, guys, it will take you 2 hours to talk to 20 people. And what other industry in the world can you prospect for literally 2 to 3 hours in a day and have an overwhelming amount of business?
Yeah.
So I said there's no. So yeah, and it's funny how like you say certain things and we're like aligned because people don't realize those numbers are. It's true.
Well,
2 hours.
It's
man.
not rocket science.
No, it's not.
It really isn't. Just
Well,
do the work.
Let's do the work. Well, you know what? We've had a 1 hour flew by pretty quickly.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been an hour, but it's been. I honestly think there's a lot of nuggets that people can get from this conversation.
Well, you know what? I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And not so much in the last 20 years as a realtor,
Okay.
and using the new technology.
Yeah.
But I still think that, if you want to call it old school, blending it with technology
Yeah.
is the way to go.
There you go. Well, you know what, Deborah, I want to thank you so much for coming and have this conversation.
I am honored to be your first.
You are my first, and it's going to be a lot. Well, first of many. Thank you so much. All right.
Yeah. Thank
High
you.
five. Give me a high five. All right. Okay. Later.